A young man named Ethan lived under a small bridge in the bustling city, a place where the echoes of laughter and the hum of traffic served as constant reminders of the life he yearned for but couldn't yet grasp. His days were a repetitive struggle, marked by endless hours of pleading for spare change or scraps of food. Each coin placed in his outstretched hand felt like a glimmer of humanity, a tiny thread connecting him to a world that often seemed indifferent to his plight. Yet, Ethan refused to let despair consume him. His weathered face carried a warmth that defied his circumstances, and his eyes held a quiet determination that hinted at something greater within him. Despite the relentless challenges, Ethan found solace in small acts of kindness, both given and received. He would often share whatever little he had with fellow homeless individuals, believing that even in scarcity, generosity could thrive. His voice, soft but resolute, carried words of encouragement to those around him, lifting spirits with a simple, "Tomorrow will be better." For Ethan, hope was not just a fleeting emotion. It was a choice he made every single day. It was the anchor that kept him grounded amidst the chaos, the light he clung to as he dreamed of a life beyond the shadows of the bridge. One fateful afternoon, as Ethan wandered through a busy street, his attention was caught by an old man sitting by a small, makeshift stall stacked with worn books. The man, with his kind eyes and weathered hands, seemed to handle each book as though it were a treasure. Ethan paused, drawn by the sight of titles he couldn't fully read, but felt an inexplicable pull toward. The old man noticed his curiosity and, with a warm smile, spoke about the stories within those pages, stories of triumph, growth, and resilience. Though Ethan had barely enough coins for his next meal, he felt compelled to own one of those books. After a brief moment of hesitation, he handed over his last few coins and chose a tattered copy titled The Art of Resilience. The book became Ethan's companion, filling his evenings with a newfound sense of purpose. As he read under the dim glow of a street lamp, the words leapt off the page, urging him to rethink his circumstances. The chapters spoke of individuals who had faced insurmountable odds yet emerged victorious through sheer determination. For Ethan, each story felt like a personal message, as though the book had been written just for him. It awakened something dormant, a flicker of belief that life could be more than what it currently was. He realized that dreaming wasn't reserved for the privileged. It was a right he too could claim. With each page he turned, Ethan's heart swelled with the possibility of transformation, and he began to see his struggles not as barriers, but as stepping stones toward a brighter future. Each night, as the city fell quiet and the street lamp cast its gentle glow over the pavement, Ethan immersed himself in the book's wisdom. The words felt like whispers of encouragement, echoing in the stillness around him. Though his hands were calloused and the cold often bit at his skin, he barely noticed. His mind was alive with new ideas and possibilities. The stories within the book were not just about extraordinary feats, but about ordinary people who had refused to give up. They reminded Ethan that change didn't come in leaps, but in small, deliberate steps taken each day, no matter how insignificant they seemed. He began to reflect on his own life, wondering how he could apply these lessons to carve a different path for himself. As the chapters unfolded, so did Ethan's imagination. He began to picture himself in situations he had once thought impossible. Holding a steady job, living in a modest apartment, and even helping others like himself. These visions weren't just fleeting dreams. They became a source of fuel, igniting a determination that grew stronger with each page. For the first time in years, Ethan felt a sense of agency over his life. The idea of escaping poverty no longer seemed like a distant fantasy, but a goal he could reach through hard work and persistence. Though the nights were long and his circumstances unchanged, Ethan clung to the belief that his future was being written, one word at a time, under that humble street lamp. One evening, As Ethan stood in the long line outside a local soup kitchen, he struck up a conversation with a volunteer named Clara. She was a cheerful young woman with an infectious energy that seemed to brighten even the bleakest corners of the city. Clara noticed something different about Ethan, a spark of determination in his demeanor that many others in the line lacked. As they talked, Ethan shared his growing love for books and how they had opened his mind to the possibility of a better future. Clara, deeply moved by his story and his hunger for knowledge, decided to help him in any way she could. The next day, Clara brought him a small stack of books she had collected from her home library, covering topics from self-improvement to basic business skills. She encouraged him to read and explore new ideas, planting seeds of confidence in Ethan's heart. Beyond that, Clara introduced him to a local community center that offered free training in practical skills like computer literacy and resume building. She assured him that these resources could be the first steps toward building a new life. Her encouragement and unwavering belief in his potential gave Ethan a renewed sense of hope. With Clara's support, he felt as though someone finally saw him not for what he lacked, but for what he could become. Ethan's first day at the community center felt both exciting and overwhelming. The computer lab, with its rows of humming machines, was unlike anything he had ever encountered. The instructor began with basic lessons: how to turn on the computer, use a mouse, and type on a keyboard. But even these simple tasks felt daunting to Ethan, who had never interacted with technology before. He fumbled often, his hands awkwardly moving across the unfamiliar keyboard, but he refused to let frustration take over. Every small victory, like successfully opening a document or clicking the right icon, brought him closer to a new sense of confidence. As the weeks passed, Ethan began to see progress. He learned how to use word processing programs, send emails, and even navigate online job portals. The biggest milestone came when he created his first resume, carefully detailing the skills he had gained and the odd jobs he had held over the years. Holding the printed copy in his hands, Ethan felt an immense pride. It wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a symbol of his determination and growth. The program not only equipped him with technical skills, but also reignited his belief that he was capable of learning and thriving in an ever-changing world. With Clara's encouragement, Ethan nervously filled out his first job application at a small, bustling cafe just a few blocks from the community center. He didn't have much experience to list, but Clara helped him highlight his newfound skills and his willingness to work hard. A few days later, the manager called him in for an interview. Dressed in a donated shirt and tie, Ethan walked in with a mixture of hope and apprehension. Despite his lack of formal experience, the manager saw potential in his earnest attitude and decided to give him a chance. When Ethan received the call offering him the job, it felt like a door had finally opened after years of closed ones. Starting as a dishwasher wasn't glamorous, but to Ethan, it was a stepping stone. The rhythm of the work, the clatter of dishes, the hum of the kitchen, gave him a structure he hadn't known in years. The steady income, though modest, allowed him to save a little and plan his days with a newfound sense of stability. More importantly, the job gave him purpose and a chance to be part of a team. For the first time in years, he could afford to buy his own meals, and he no longer had to rely on soup kitchens for survival. Each shift reinforced his belief that he was capable of more and gave him the courage to dream even bigger. Ethan, determined to make the most of his newfound stability, carefully set aside a portion of his earnings from the cafe. It wasn't much, but he treated every saved dollar as a step closer to a brighter future. After weeks of frugal living, he had enough to enroll in night classes for business fundamentals at a local community college. Walking into the classroom for the first time, Ethan felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The thought of being surrounded by others who shared his desire to learn energized him, and he quickly immersed himself in the lessons. Concepts like budgeting, marketing, and customer service fascinated him. opening his mind to possibilities he had never before considered. As the weeks turned into months, Ethan realized that business was more than just numbers and strategies. It was about creating opportunities and solving problems. Each lecture inspired him to think about how he could one day use his knowledge to make a difference. He began jotting down ideas for his own venture, envisioning a business that could help others like himself who were struggling to get back on their feet. The thought of being an entrepreneur filled him with purpose. Ethan's nights were now spent not just learning but dreaming of a future where he could provide jobs, support his community, and prove that even the most humble beginnings could lead to greatness. One evening after class, Ethan lingered to ask a question about a concept he didn't fully understand. His instructor, Mr. Blake, noticed the spark of curiosity in his eyes and the effort Ethan was putting into every assignment. Intrigued by Ethan's dedication, Mr. Blake struck up a conversation and asked about his background. As Ethan shared his journey, his struggles, his determination, and his newfound dream of owning a business, Mr. Blake listened intently. Moved by Ethan's resilience, Mr. Blake offered to mentor him outside of class, sensing that with the right guidance, Ethan could achieve remarkable things. Under Mr. Blake's mentorship, Ethan gained more than just knowledge. He gained perspective. Mr. Blake emphasized the importance of starting small, advising Ethan to focus on attainable goals rather than getting overwhelmed by the big picture. He taught Ethan how to create a simple business plan, how to identify his target market, and how to remain adaptable in the face of challenges. More importantly, Mr. Blake shared personal stories of his own failures and successes, reminding Ethan that obstacles were a natural part of any journey. These lessons not only strengthened Ethan's practical skills, but also fortified his belief in his ability to overcome whatever came his way. With each conversation, Ethan felt more equipped to turn his dreams into reality. Ethan's idea for a business came to him one evening as he reflected on his own journey of hardship. He remembered the countless times he had gone hungry or had to make impossible choices between food and other basic needs. The thought stirred something deep within him, and he began to wonder how he could ease that burden for others. That's when the concept of affordable, nutritious meal kits took root. He envisioned creating packages that were not only cost-effective but also simple to prepare, ensuring that families with limited resources could still enjoy wholesome meals. The idea wasn't just about feeding people. It was about restoring dignity and hope to those who often felt forgotten. Eager to bring his vision to life, Ethan started researching how to make it a reality. He studied different meal kit models, explored cost-effective ways to source ingredients, and brainstormed packaging ideas that would keep the kits both fresh and budget-friendly. His goal was clear: to bridge the gap between affordability and nutrition for low-income families. Ethan also wanted the business to reflect his values, ensuring that it remained accessible and impactful. The idea became more than just a potential livelihood. It was a way for him to give back to the community that had supported him during his toughest times. As he worked on refining his plan, he felt a growing sense of purpose, knowing this venture could change lives, just as his had been transformed by others' kindness. Ethan quickly discovered that turning his idea into reality was far more challenging than he had anticipated. Securing funding became an uphill battle, as most investors were hesitant to take a chance on someone with no prior business experience. Rejections piled up, each one testing his resolve. Yet, Ethan refused to let discouragement take root. Instead of dwelling on the closed doors, he sought alternative paths. He reached out to small local organizations, pitched his idea at community events, and even approached charitable foundations. Every conversation, even those that ended in a polite no, taught him something new and strengthened his determination to persevere. Finding reliable suppliers was another hurdle. Ethan needed affordable, high-quality ingredients to keep his meal kits both nutritious and budget-friendly, but many suppliers were skeptical of his small-scale operation. Undeterred, he tapped into his growing network, asking for introductions and advice. Slowly but surely, he built relationships with small farmers and local vendors who shared his vision and were willing to work with him. Each step forward felt like a small victory, proof that persistence and creativity could overcome even the toughest challenges. Despite the setbacks, Ethan remained focused, adapting his plans whenever obstacles arose and holding on to the belief that every challenge was simply a part of the journey. As Ethan's vision for his meal kit business took shape, Clara and other members of the community rallied around him. They had witnessed his transformation firsthand and were inspired by his determination to create something meaningful. Clara, in particular, became his staunchest advocate, spreading the word about his idea and connecting him with individuals who could help. One by one, people began to step forward, offering their support in various forms. A retired accountant volunteered to help him create a budget and manage his finances. A graphic designer offered to design the logo and packaging for the kits. Their contributions weren't just acts of kindness. They were votes of confidence in Ethan's ability to make a difference. Some community members went even further, pooling their resources to provide the initial funding Ethan needed to get started. Their investments weren't just financial. They were rooted in a shared belief that his idea could bring real change. Others volunteered their time, helping him assemble the first batch of meal kits or spreading the word to potential customers. This collective effort turned Ethan's venture into a community project, making it bigger than just one person's dream. For Ethan, the overwhelming support was a reminder of how far he had come and how much people believed in him. It wasn't just his journey anymore. It was a shared mission to uplift and empower those in need. After months of tireless effort, Ethan finally saw his dream come to life as the first batch of meal kits was ready to launch. He had spent countless nights refining recipes, ensuring the kits were nutritious, easy to prepare, and affordable for families in need. On launch day, Ethan felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. With the help of his community, he set up a small distribution stand in a neighborhood where many families faced financial hardship. As people gathered to hear about the meal kits, Ethan spoke from the heart, sharing his story and the purpose behind his venture. His words resonated deeply, and soon, the first kits were in the hands of families eager to try them. The response was beyond anything Ethan had imagined. Families who had struggled like he once did expressed their gratitude, not just for the meal kits but for the thought and care behind them. Some shared how the kits had made a difference, allowing them to stretch their budgets while providing healthy meals for their children. Word spread quickly, and more people came forward to support his initiative, either by purchasing kits or donating to help him expand. For Ethan, this moment wasn't just a milestone in his business. It was a deeply personal victory. Seeing the smiles on the faces of those he helped reminded him why he had started this journey, and it fueled his determination to reach even more people. Ethan's journey caught the attention of a local journalist who had heard about his innovative meal kit business through word of mouth. The story of a man who had risen from homelessness to create a thriving enterprise captivated the community, and soon Ethan was featured in an article that detailed his struggles, his resilience, and his mission to give back. The article struck a chord with readers, sparking a wave of support and recognition. People were inspired by how he turned his hardships into a driving force for positive change. Orders for his meal kits surged as more families and individuals wanted to support his mission, and donations began pouring in to help him expand his operations. With the growing demand, Ethan realized he couldn't do it alone. Determined to create opportunities for others, he began hiring employees who, like him, had faced tough times. Many of them were formerly homeless or unemployed, and Ethan took pride in giving them a chance to rebuild their lives. He provided not just jobs but also training and mentorship, creating a supportive environment where his team could thrive. Each new hire added another layer of purpose to his business, transforming it into more than just a meal kit company. It became a symbol of hope and second chances. As his team grew, so did Ethan's belief in the power of community and the ripple effect of lifting others up. Ethan's success didn't make him forget the nights he spent under the bridge or the countless days he struggled to find a meal. Those memories fueled his desire to give back to those who were still navigating the hardships he had once known too well. With the growing profits from his meal kit business, Ethan started an initiative to provide free meals to homeless individuals. Every weekend, his team set up pop-up stands in underserved areas, distributing warm, nutritious food to those in need. Ethan often joined them, personally handing out meals and talking with the people he served. He wanted them to know that they weren't invisible, that someone believed in their ability to rise above their circumstances. But Ethan's initiative didn't stop at providing meals. He was determined to create long-term change. Drawing from his own journey, he added a skills training program to the initiative, offering free workshops on basic computer literacy, job readiness, and entrepreneurship. He partnered with local businesses and organizations to ensure participants had pathways to employment after completing the program. For Ethan, this wasn't just charity, it was empowerment. He wanted to give people the tools and opportunities that had helped him transform his life. Watching individuals take their first steps toward independence and hope reminded Ethan of the power of second chances, reinforcing his commitment to building a community where no one was left behind. As Ethan's business continued to grow, a sudden supply chain disruption threatened to bring everything to a standstill. One of his primary suppliers unexpectedly went out of business, leaving him scrambling to find alternatives. Without the necessary ingredients, he couldn't fulfill the growing number of orders, and delays began to pile up. Customers who relied on his meal kits expressed frustration, and for the first time since launching, Ethan felt the weight of uncertainty pressing down on him. He knew that his reputation and the livelihoods of his employees were on the line, and failure was not an option. Determined to overcome the crisis, Ethan pivoted quickly. He reached out to local farmers and smaller vendors, negotiating deals to secure ingredients even if it meant higher costs in the short term. He streamlined operations to make the most of the resources he had and openly communicated with his customers about the challenges he faced, assuring them that he was doing everything possible to resolve the issue. Though the experience tested him, it also reinforced the importance of adaptability and resilience. Ethan emerged from the ordeal with stronger relationships with his suppliers and a more robust system in place to prevent future disruptions. The experience became a reminder that every obstacle could be a stepping stone toward greater strength and innovation. As demand for Ethan's meal kits continued to grow, he saw an opportunity to expand his impact beyond his local community. Recognizing the importance of building a sustainable and reliable supply chain, he reached out to local farms and organizations. Many of these farms were run by families who shared his vision of creating accessible, nutritious food for all. Through these partnerships, Ethan was able to source fresh, high-quality ingredients directly from the producers, cutting costs while supporting local agriculture. The collaboration not only strengthened his business but also fostered a sense of community among his suppliers, who felt proud to contribute to such a meaningful cause. With a solid foundation in place, Ethan took the bold step of expanding his operations to neighboring cities. He set up small distribution hubs and hired local staff to manage them, ensuring that his business created jobs wherever it went. Each new location brought its own challenges, from understanding the needs of the community to building trust with new customers. But Ethan approached them with the same determination and care that had defined his journey from the beginning. As his meal kits reached more households, Ethan received letters and messages from families expressing gratitude for the difference his product had made in their lives. Knowing that his efforts were touching so many people fueled his drive to keep growing. proving that a simple idea could create a ripple effect of change across entire communities. With the success of his meal kit business, Ethan felt it was time to take his mission to the next level. He established a foundation dedicated to eradicating hunger and homelessness, a cause deeply rooted in his own experiences. The foundation was more than just a charitable endeavor. It was a comprehensive initiative designed to address the root causes of poverty. It combined immediate aid, such as food and temporary housing, with long-term solutions like job training, education programs, and mental health support. Ethan wanted the foundation to be a beacon of hope, offering individuals not just relief, but also a pathway to rebuild their lives. Ethan's story became a source of inspiration for countless others, spreading through media features, community events, and word of mouth. People from all walks of life saw in him the proof that transformation was possible, no matter how dire the circumstances. He often spoke at conferences and workshops, sharing his journey and the lessons he had learned along the way. His words resonated with aspiring entrepreneurs, community leaders, and those still struggling to find their footing. The foundation grew rapidly, fueled by donations and collaborations with like-minded organizations. For Ethan, every success of the foundation was a reminder of his purpose, to ensure that no one felt as alone or hopeless as he once had. Ethan's remarkable journey from homelessness to success captured the attention of organizations and media worldwide, leading to invitations to speak at various conferences. Standing on stages before audiences of all backgrounds, Ethan shared his story with a raw honesty that resonated deeply. He spoke not only about his struggles but also about the pivotal moments that transformed his life, the kindness of strangers, the lessons he learned from failure, and the courage it took to dream again. His words struck a chord with listeners, from aspiring entrepreneurs to those facing their own challenges, reminding them that second chances were possible with resilience and belief in oneself. Encouraged by the overwhelming response, Ethan took on a new challenge, writing a book about his journey. Sitting at his desk late into the nights, he poured his heart into the pages, recounting the highs and lows of his transformation. The book, filled with lessons on perseverance, hope, and actionable advice, became a guide for those seeking a fresh start. When it was published, it quickly became a bestseller, inspiring thousands across the globe. Letters and messages poured in from readers who found strength in his story, many of whom credited Ethan's words with giving them the courage to chase their own dreams. For Ethan, sharing his journey wasn't just about telling his story. It was about creating a ripple effect of hope and empowerment. Ethan's dedication to uplifting others did not go unnoticed. One evening, he found himself in an elegant auditorium, surrounded by community leaders, changemakers, and admirers who had gathered to celebrate his impact. He was being presented with a prestigious humanitarian award, a recognition of his tireless efforts to combat hunger and homelessness. As his name was announced, a wave of emotion washed over him. Walking to the stage, Ethan couldn't help but think of the nights he had spent under the bridge, cold and hungry, wondering if life would ever change. Now, he stood in front of a crowd, not as a man defined by his struggles, but as someone who had turned them into a source of hope for countless others. When Ethan spoke, his voice carried a blend of gratitude and humility. He reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment, sharing stories of the people who had believed in him when he could barely believe in himself. Clara, Mr. Blake, the community members who had rallied behind his vision. He made it clear that the award wasn't just for him, but for everyone who had been part of his journey. Ethan reminded the audience that success isn't about where you start, but the choices you make to keep moving forward, no matter how difficult the path. As the crowd rose to applaud him, Ethan felt not only a sense of pride, but also a renewed commitment to continue his work, knowing that his story was far from over. Though Ethan's life had transformed beyond what he once thought possible, He carried his past with him as a reminder of the journey that shaped him. Despite his newfound abundance, he chose to live simply, dedicating most of his wealth to causes close to his heart. His days were filled with acts of service, whether it was mentoring young entrepreneurs, expanding his foundation's reach, or personally visiting shelters to connect with those in need. People admired him not just for his success, but for his unwavering humility and deep empathy. It was these qualities that earned him the nickname, the King of Hearts, a tribute to the kindness and compassion that defined his legacy. Ethan's life became a living testament to the power of dreams, perseverance, and generosity. His story inspired people from all walks of life to believe in their potential and the possibility of change. Communities he had touched continued to thrive, creating a ripple effect of hope and opportunity. Whenever asked about his achievements, Ethan would smile and say that it all began with a single book and the belief that even the smallest steps could lead to extraordinary places. For Ethan, true success wasn't measured by wealth or accolades, but by the lives he was able to uplift along the way, proving that greatness could come from the most humble beginnings.